Welcome to the Double R Show, the podcast that features everything about North Lincoln County. The Double R Show, directed and produced by Paul Robertson and hosted by the voice of Lincoln City, Roger Robertson.
And welcome to the Double R Show, Double R, along with son Paul. And today we're going to do a number of different interviews as we approach what?
Yeah, we're going to navigate and we're going to communicate, I think, is the goal here. And so we've got a number of guests coming on. We got Felicia Olmeta Schult, Dr. Schult. She's the coastal hazard specialist for Oregon Sea Grant.
Okay.
Douglas Holbrook is going to speak about the auxiliary communications that he's part of, with the county.
Right.
So he's the ham. He's one of the hams. And then also we have Brad Dull as a veteran advocate is going to be on, so helping people navigate through what can be a pretty daunting process.
It really can be. But when you get somebody like Brad in your corner, it does make it worthwhile. We'll be back and talk about that and a whole lot more right after this.
You'll find a book for every occasion at Bob's Beach Books. Something to read as you relax by an open fire? We have it. Studying a particular topic? We have that too. Traveling to a far-off land? Discover it first by reading. Bob's Beach Books in the Ocean Lake area of Lincoln City? Come discover.
Zantello Law Group has moved. I'm Josh Zantello, and our law firm is now located across from the Lincoln City Community Center on Northeast 21st. Our law firm of knowledgeable professionals stand ready to assist you in life's matters.
Hey, welcome back to the Double R Show. With us right now, we've got a Sea Grant specialist that is with us, Felicia Schult. And you are originally from France. What brought you to the Oregon coast?
Yeah, so I'm originally from an island in the Mediterranean Sea in France called Corsica, born and raised there. And the reason why I came to the U.S. is just I really wanted to travel and study abroad. So I went to university that basically it was 2 years in France, 2 years in the U.S., and I did oceanography. But I ended up staying in the U.S. and did more studies. And, after my bachelor in Hawaii, I went to get my master in University of Rhode Island. And after my PhD at Washington State University. And also I met my husband in the U.S. So that's why I'm here now.
That is a marvelous historical tour of the world.
Yes.
I love that. Right now, you are coastal hazard specialist. That seems like a awful ominous title. What is a coastal hazardous specialist?
Yeah, so what I consider myself is more like a liaison, and I can explain that, into more detail after. But basically, my mission as a coastal hazard specialist is to increase coastal communities' resilience to the impacts of climate change and natural geohazards. And natural geohazards are coastal flooding, erosion, landslide, tsunami, and earthquakes. So all the fun stuff.
Now, are you working to mitigate these things or just make awareness to the general population?
Now, that's a good question. Like I mentioned, I consider myself more like a liaison in a way that because our program, Oregon Sea Grant, is under Oregon State University Extension Service. Mm-hmm. So we're doing a lot of community engagement and outreach. And I connect, let's say, researchers, for example, at Oregon State University or University of Oregon, different universities, different specialists, different agencies, and try to bring back the resources, the information on the ground with local communities, but also any needs, any concerns from, let's say, local emergency managers, local nonprofits, local community-based organizations, local HOA, any individuals. I can then, transfer those needs to the research or to the agency and find where the resources are. And where, for example, there is a missing resource somewhere or information I'm going to give you an example of a project I'm working on right now.
Okay.
It's try to develop a planting guide to help control erosion on the coast for Oregon and Washington. And I've been asked by individuals through Ask Extension, which is a program of Oregon State University Extension, asking me what can I plant on my property to help control erosion because my property is on the bluff or is like close to the beach. And I've been asking around, is there any resource, can I have access to such resource? And by talking to different partners, they're like, no, we don't have such resource. So it's when I decided to create a work group and developing this resource. And I'm going to have an intern this summer to help develop this planting guide.
So the work that you're doing is not just for Lincoln County then. It's got to be the entire Oregon, Washington coast?
So it's the whole Oregon coast, so all
Okay.
the coastal counties. But in the past, I worked also in Washington with Washington Sea Grant. So I have colleagues through the Sea Grant family, as I call it, who are in Washington state. And because our ecosystems, the habitat, the issues we have with, let's say, coastal erosion and flooding on the coast are really similar between Oregon and Washington, I was thinking, why not doing a planting guide for those two states, for the Pacific Northwest?
When you're talking about a planting guide, are we talking about trees? Are we talking about grasses? What? Or
Yes.
all of the above?
All of the above.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And because I'm not a botanist, I'm not an expert in plants. So that's why then we have partners like, for example, with USDA or DRC, like Department of Land Conservation and Development. Also, sometimes being on the coast, you need to have a permit depending what you do, what your property is. So that's why one of the partners is also Oregon Parks and Recreation Department, as well as some like watershed consoles, all those kind of partners. Because some have like also a lot of experience doing restoration work. For example, like the Mid-Coast Watershed Console does this kind of works. They have a nursery. The Tillamook Estuary Partnership also does this kind of work. And they have a nursery. So it's great to have the expertise also of those local groups to see like how we can do something like that. And for now, it's just the planting guide. And who knows, maybe in the future, can be creating some workshops. Who knows, with the Master Gardener program.
Now, you're talking about one specific item, and that's a guide on plantings. Do you also get involved with tsunami and
Yes.
this type of thing? Tell me about that.
Yeah, so for example, another project. So I'm lucky that at OSU Extension, there is someone working from DOGAMI, so Department of Geology and Mineral Industries, Laura Gable, and we share the same building. And that is really great because she's the expert. She's like a coastal geomorphologist. And me, I'm more like, let's say, like you said, the community outreach and engagement person. And a project we're trying to do is like making sure, for example, the hospitality industry has a way to inform their staff and visitors about where to go in case of like a tsunami, distant or local tsunami. And they've been working on developing custom tsunami evacuation maps. And my role was like, okay, how can we make those maps, maybe better? What kind of information we can remove or add from the map in terms of like directions or where to go? But also, how do we distribute those? How do we communicate with the hospitality industry? And I'm also trying to have a survey out there to ask the hospitality industry, what kind of training would you like to have for your staff? Or what kind of information would you like to have, to explain to visitors? And in the meantime, here is like some tsunami evacuation map that if you want, you can have in your hotel rooms. And some hotels have been displaying those in their hotel rooms.
If I am a hotelier and I need this information for my guests, for my staff, who do I contact? How do I get a hold of you?
Yeah, so you can contact me directly because I'm in direct contact with, DOGAMI. So it will be going to the Oregon Sea Grant page. And I don't have the address on top of my head, but I think it's like seagrant.oregonstate.edu. And after, you have to look for coastal hazards. So you can just type coastal hazards in the little like search window.
Very good. We appreciate you being here, Felicia. This has been most interesting. Look forward to having you back again as your work progresses.
Thanks. Yeah, like hopefully more projects to come. For example, this summer we may try also to do some outreach and education trainings with the staff at state parks. So we may do a project like that so they can inform visitors. And working with my colleague at Clatsop County who's working on wildfires. So, yeah,
Get your hands full.
a lot
Thank
of
you.
work.
We'll be back in just a moment.
Home-style cooking in a hometown atmosphere. Hi, I'm Adina from Zeller's Restaurant in Rose Lodge in Lincoln City. Join us daily for good fun and great food. You can even kick up your heels at Zeller's.
If you're looking for great early garden fresh produce, it's Kenny's IGA in the Bay Area of Lincoln City. 4 generations of Morgans caring for your every grocery need. All of your favorite beverages, a full deli, meat, produce, and of course, groceries.
Wouldn't it be great to have all your insurance needs handled by one agency? This is Charlotte Lado with Farmers Insurance and the Insurance Store. Visit our office next to the Wildflower Grill in Lincoln City. Let us be your one stop for your personal, commercial, health, and Medicare insurance needs.
There's a famous line in a movie in Cool Hand Luke, what we have here is a failure to communicate. Communications is what we're going to be talking about, and communications is really Doug Holbrook's claim to fame right now with the Lincoln County Auxiliary Communication Services. Doug, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure, sir. How are you?
I'm good. Now, Lincoln County Services for Communications. Tell me about that. What's your involvement?
Well, I'm involved with part of its sort of leadership structure, and I've been part of its formation, but it was sort of getting off the ground in its current form, which was several years ago. But anyway, so yes, actively engaged in helping manage the training and education and that sort of thing of the members.
We're talking about a nonprofit organization, Doug?
Absolutely. We are affiliated with the Lincoln County Sheriff's Office under the emergency management, and the emergency manager is who we interface with, and if she were to call us out, we would be, responding to a communications issue at her behest.
Speaking of calling you out, N7KNK.
That's correct.
And that is what?
That is an FCC call sign.
And when do you utilize that?
Every member of the ACS group has an FCC license to operate their radios, and depending on the level of license, they have certain radio privileges. So on the low end, it's mostly, sort of the walkie-talkie level and up to 50 watts or so on a base radio, and on up to, where you can run 1,500 watts on a radio and that sort of thing.
What type of things happen, Doug, that you get called off to set up this communication system?
Well, it has been a situation where we have not been officially deployed. We just haven't had that level of problem where we would be needed. As time goes on and as systems advance with satellites and, primarily with satellite communications, we are learning how to operate those sorts of systems in order to also support the county's communications.
How big a network are we talking about, Doug?
Nominally, we have about 70 members.
Oh, wow.
Since, I would say, COVID, the active participation has dropped some, but we do drills a few times a year where we have formal exercises. We also have public service events that we participate in. Well, one of them is called the Barrel to Keg, and we usually have to call up around 40 volunteers to work that event. And it's really quite good training for tactical radio operations.
How does one become involved with this organization?
Well, most people come to us interested in getting licensed, or if they're already licensed, they can contact myself, or they can use the following email, contact@lcacs.org, and that person can be directed as to what next steps they might need to take in their situation.
What does one get out of it, Doug, personally speaking, if you will?
Well, there's been a great interest in emergency communications as we've seen hurricanes and tornadoes and
fires,
potential for an earthquake and fires, yes, in our own zone. And so, people, I think, get some satisfaction out of knowing that they have a skill that they might be able to use to help people.
That's the bottom line, to help people.
Exactly.
Well, that's rather an ambitious undertaking. And again, we do appreciate your efforts. And you mentioned that you've got a group of about 70 at this point in time. Do you have to make a big investment of money and time to be a member of this organization?
No, the costs of participation are, studying to get licensed, sitting down and taking the test. The test, I think, is $20 or $25 these days to have the test administered to you. And then, the cost of radios is variable based upon what you want, really. You can get into it rather inexpensively with some of the equipment that's available. And in terms of time, we meet monthly.
Years ago, I had what was called a third phone for radio. Third, second, and first. Is that the lineup of licensing still?
I'm not sure I understand.
Okay, yeah, I had to been into radio all of the time, I guess, to be involved with the FCC licensing to be on the air running equipment. Doug, we appreciate you being here on this program, and again, to get a hold of Doug Holbrook and the organization, we do what?
Email to contact, CONCACT, at lcacs.org.
In the early hours after the tsunami, it was ham radio that was on the air, saving lives. When Florida was ripped by hurricanes, the hams were there. In the critical moments after the attack of 9/11, it was the hams who coordinated emergency messages. When disasters strike, the hams are ready. Ham radio works when other communications don't. To learn how you can become a ham radio operator, call the ARRL, the National Association for Amateur Radio, at 1-800-326-3942.
We at La Roca are proud of our food, but don't take our word for it. Read the reviews. One person wrote, "The service was friendly and efficient." Another writes, "La Roca has become one of our favorites because it's authentic Mexican food."
Veterans, we can't say thank you enough. We can't say welcome home enough. With us is Brad Dull, and Brad is involved in all sorts of veteran activities for the benefit of the local vet.
That's
welcome.
Very true. Yes.
Why is it we need to do this? Because it should be just fully understood.
My experience after 21 years of being with the VA since Vietnam and my second tour in the service, I understand how difficult not only is it to get through the paperwork, but get you to the trough, so to speak, and help you drink a little bit. And then I get you to that point where you can fill out your paperwork and send it in. I understand what veterans go through having been in combat in Vietnam. I understand the stresses. I understand the post-traumatic stress, the betrayal, all that stuff. And what my job, my goal is, my mission, so to speak, is to better help the veterans and their families understand what is available for them and how to get it without having to go through all the hoops.
This really is your mission.
Yes.
I mean, you take a lot of pride in what you do. Where can somebody access what you have to offer?
Well, in Lincoln County, I've done all the fraternal organizations, some churches, some living centers, and done my speech basically at these organizations. I work I'm a volunteer with the Oregon Department of Veterans Affairs, which is in Summer Street in Salem. Mm-hmm. And so I have my cards all over. If families want me to come and visit them, I do. If they want me to go to their churches or wherever and tell them where they can get a hold of me, it's pretty basic. I'm ready. I've got the tables and everything set up, ready to go.
What's the biggest misconception we get of today's veteran?
I think a lot of people don't understand the military itself. And I know in my training and that looking back over the years, a lot of people, I think, maybe a little bit anticipated and wanting to get a hold with veterans because they're not really sure kind of where they're at. They all think some of us are wacko or whatever, and we're not. But we're just people looking for someone to talk to. To get a hold of us is difficult in areas. I've been here now in Lincoln City for 2 years. I moved over from Dallas partly to do this as a volunteer. Just resources and trying to find out where we are and how they can call us or how they can come visit us. And those are some of the things that I'm working on now with the Veterans Center in Salem.
Volunteer is your key word because all you do is volunteer.
Yes, and I don't get paid. I've been to Florida and done a thing a few years back for the American Legion there and with relatives. And it's all volunteer. I've been all over the northwest part of the state doing this and up and down the coast for 7 years now.
What kind of veteran organizations are there in North County? American Legion, what do we have?
Well, I'm also a member of the American Legion, as you know. And there's the Elks that does some work with the veterans and that. I've been with the VFW. I've been with American Legion. I've been with, so many over the years. They're here, and there are some that are still pretty busy and still pretty active and helping veterans a lot. And so I think a lot of the things for veterans is they're so used to not having services in some areas throughout the state that they just kind of give up.
What kind of services are available right here in North County?
Well, through ODVA, I've learned a lot in the 7 years I've been with ODVA. There's a school. People want to go to school. There's grants for that as well as through other parts of the veterans. There's just a myriad of things as far as opportunities. There's activities such as called G for V. It's Guitar for Vets. I've been trying to promote that for 2 years. It's kind of hard to find people, but you get a free guitar after 10 lessons, and you get booked in a place if you want to play. And there's also, guitar. There's art classes. I've been wanting to do art classes for the time I've been here. It's just hard to get people together to do it. So the biggest problem is getting them out of the house and letting them know that there's stuff here. It's free. And so.
You bring a lot of personal experiences to the table with this, don't you?
Yes, I do. Mm-hmm.
Any that you talk about frequently?
I'm pretty much an open book. Maybe I talk too much sometimes, but I was in treatment with the VA for 3.5 years, which is reintegration, basically group therapy for a while. And then some things happened in 2007. And so I went to the Veterans Center in Eugene for another 10 years for group therapy there. So I've been involved in a lot of treatment programs and a lot of therapy and a lot of things, which has given me a better understanding of how our veterans work, what they look for, what they don't want, and that. And so I try to bring my experience to the table. And there's 3 things that over my 21 years with the VA, first thing we look for is we want somebody we can trust. Mm-hmm. We need a safe place to go do that. And if you haven't done it, if you haven't been there and done it, we don't want to talk to you, basically. Mm-hmm. We don't want, everybody's important, but we want somebody that's been there and seen what we've seen and done before they're really willing to talk, I think, a lot.
And again, being able to talk to somebody that's been there, done that.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Myself, having been in action in Vietnam, I want to find somebody that's done that. Mm-hmm. Because when I see a veteran, I don't have to go up and say, hey, dude, what did you do when you're in the service or something? If they were in the service, if they were in Vietnam or any conflict, I get it. I don't have to question them about stuff. I understand because I've been there and done it. And so I want to find people not like me, but people that have had that same experience and know that we are brothers and sisters and we don't have to question each other all the time about, hey, how was it?
Then I get a hold of you, how?
Well, you can call the Elks every Wednesday at 9 a.m. at Pioneer Joe's on Taft on 51st Street. The owners there, Jerome, was giving me a good opportunity to have that space in the back and to give talks and stuff. And so that's one way. And let me see, Salishan. I'm there at the Pioneer Joe's there a lot. And you can find me walking around Walmart with my hat. And that's where I meet. I've met probably over 100 and some people in the 2 years, helping them just because I have my hat on. That's what draws attention.
Northwest Septic Service is your one-stop shop for all your septic needs.
Northwest Septic Service offers pumping, maintenance, repair, and inspections with one call, 541-994-6977.
Buying or selling a home? Northwest Septic Service can inspect your sewer line or an entire septic system.
Old or failing septic system? Northwest Septic Service can rejuvenate most drain fields, saving you thousands of dollars. 541-994-6977.
Serving Lincoln, Tillamook, and Yamhill counties, Northwest Septic Service. Well, we're about ready to close up another edition of this program. We would like to give our thanks to the Rotary Club for inviting us to be presenters at their last Rotary function. That was rather interesting and some interesting questions.
Yeah. Thanks to the Rotarians, Dave Price in particular, for inviting us. And one thing that we presented at that, which we haven't really shared, I think, with the listening audience, is this fact that you can see our podcast and read our podcast, in a sense, through subtitles if you're on the YouTube channel.
So this is something I did not know. This is something that I heard of for the first time today myself. And, really?
Yeah, it's pretty simple. You just go to the YouTube channel,
Sure.
So the Double R Show YouTube channel, which you can get a link to. And then there is on the player, when you look at the player, there's just the CC. Tap on that, and it'll instantly pop up English language captions. But
Sure.
then you can change those to your other language of choice, too. So you can get... I was playing with it earlier today. You can get, the Double R Show written out in Dutch, for instance. So, there's lots of ways to...
Well, for Fritz and Monica that are in Germany most of the time anymore, now they can listen to it in German.
Well, read the subtitles in German.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't, it's just changing the subtitles. But, it's a accessibility option for folks. So if you're, wanting to catch up on the Double R Show, here you have an opportunity just to read along with what's being said.
Some of the other meetings forthcoming in and around the community. We have City Council meeting Monday night, 6 o'clock in Council Chambers. And then on the 10th, the Lincoln City Parks and Rec Board has their regular meeting at 2:30 in the afternoon. Also, Lincoln Pops Orchestra, Music and Dance, third Thursday of every month, 7 to 9:30, out at the Glen Eden Beach Community Club. Gentle Chair Yoga, Mondays, 11:30 at the Lincoln City Cultural Center. We've talked about this a number of times, and this is the vests that the CERT group is handing out to people that they see at night that
are not being seen at night. Yeah. So be seen in 2025 and get your free vest from the CERT team here.
Third annual Home and Garden Show, sponsored by Habitat for Humanity of Lincoln County, is going to be coming up Saturday, April the 26th, 10 to 3 at the Newport Rec Office. The last 2 years, it's been in Lincoln City up at Chinook Winds Casino Resort. This year, it is moving to the Newport Rec Center since they've got a Habitat store in both communities.
Right, yeah.
Also, I would like to remind you that Chinook Winds Casino Resort has got a major number of food venues for you. If you are looking for a great place to have a buffet, it's probably one of the few in the area, especially Friday night.
Yeah, there you go.
Friday night seafood buffet up at Chinook Winds Casino Resort. It is phenomenal. If you're looking for just a hamburger, fish and chips, a bowl of chowder, the deli right there at Chinook Winds, obviously, I've been a number of times because I know the menu.
Yeah, they got burritos there too, I
they
think.
got burritos there as well.
Yeah.
They got a full Mexican menu as well. That's downstairs right behind where the waterfall used to be, but it's right underneath the escalators.
Yeah, that remodel is really fabulous.
It really is.
And
nice job.
Telling somebody about the giant whale that you can see on the big jumbotron too. So,
well, in the signage, the outside of the building itself, what they have done with this, with the facade of the Chinook Winds Casino it's wonderful.
Yeah,
it really is.
It's looking even better and better. Yeah, you bet.
And a couple other food venues that they have, obviously, Rogue River Room, and then, of course, right there on the property is the Seafood Grill. Wonderful food. And then up at the golf course.
Aces, yeah.
Aces is the places. So, Chinook Winds Casino Resort, remember, food is better at the beach. And last but not least, one to remind everybody to pick up a copy of the Explore Lincoln City 2025 Visitor Guide. This is just a marvelous piece of literature and color and beauty.
It's a showcase, yeah.
It is a showcase of our showcase community. So make certain that you pick up a copy of this. Have it in your home. If you've got a business, especially a motel, restaurant, gift shop, have it in your hotel, gift shop. Several copies of it.
Speaking of publications, too, the Oregon Coast Community College is coming out with the Catch the Wave, right? Just the recent offerings for the spring term. So that'd be another thing to be looking for. I know that I'm going to have a mussel harvesting class in there. And
that's is always well received.
We fill that up all the time. Yeah. It's fun. It's a nice class.
They got to have a license.
Got to have a license. Yep. It's just a nice activity. You can learn about how to safely and legally harvest mussels on the Oregon coast.
And then cook them up, prepare them, and dine.
It's all part of the class. Yeah.
I like most of the items that come out of the mussels.
I know you're not a mussel fan. That's fine with me. I'm happy to eat all of your share.
And why not? So, anything else your side of the table, Paul?
I think we're clear from here.
That'll do it to the doings on a Double R show. Remember to like, share, so your family and friends around the world and across the street will have an opportunity to hear the Double R show. And if you would like us to come to your organization, like we did with the Rotary, happy to do that as well.
Absolutely.
For Paul, I'm Double R. Have a happy day.
You've been listening to The Double R Show. Join Roger and Paul Robertson as they explore everything about North Lincoln County. The Double R Show, produced by Always Productions and hosted by Roger Robertson. Have a story? Email contact@alwaysproductions.com or call 458-201-3039. For The Double R Show, I'm Jana Grawn.